Candidate JD Vance was recently endorsed by Donald Trump, but I have to wonder if that endorsement is going to remain after Trump realizes that JD Vance speculated that Trump might be America's Hitler. First, the endorsement, which happened just April 15th. This is 4 days ago, where Trump said, like some others, JD Vance may have said some not so great things about me in the past, but he gets it now, and I've seen that in spades. He is our best chance for victory in what could be a very tough race. The Democrats will be spending many millions of dollars, but the good news is that they have a defective candidate who ran for president and garnered exactly 0% in the polls. The bottom line is we must have a Republican victory in Ohio. And by the way, he points out that the MAGA movement, which he calls the greatest in the history of our country, it's only like the second Make America Great Again movement, so there's not that much competition. Anyway, he says he will put America first. In other words, JD Vance has my complete and total endorsement. And by the way, before the update about America's Hitler, which we'll give you the details on, came out, Trump was already receiving a great deal of pushback for choosing JD Vance rather than some of the more preferred by the establishment candidates in that race. He apparently stopped taking phone calls after making the endorsement because so many Republicans were calling him to complain and ask him to backtrack. They preemptively had been asking for him to, at the very least, don't endorse anyone. Let us figure it out. But David, he weighed in, and now it's going to be JD Vance, at least as far as Trump is concerned.
And this is one of the most interesting races, I think, of any sort of primary battle, because it's a very competitive GOP primary. JD Vance is not the front runner. There is no clear front runner. And so this is also a race where, Trump alluded to, the Democratic challenger, Tim Ryan, he's actually seen as fairly formidable and somebody who's got a pretty good chance of picking up the Senate seat from the retiring Rob Portman. So Donald Trump's endorsement here, if it falls flat and JD Vance does not win, that will speak volumes. And again, I think each of these Republican candidates is fairly flawed. And Donald Trump identified some of the flaws, like with Mandel, who had a terrible debate, literally wanted to fight somebody on the stage. And apparently that's what caused Donald Trump to decide, no, I don't like the way this guy appears on TV, so I'm gonna not endorse him. Well, that's kind of a strange way of doling out endorsements, but this is a winnable seat for Democrats in a year when the headwinds are really against them.
Yeah, it totally could be. And we're gonna have to see if the Republicans have this predisposition over the past couple cycles to lose some races that they could have won by choosing absolute wackos. And we'll see if this is a bridge too far and if the eventual Democratic candidate, by the way, we had Morgan Harper on the show last week. We'll see. I hope that the Democrats bring it, but I want to give you the details. So what's the new wrinkle to this? Well, JD Vance apparently used to be roommates with Josh McLaurin, who shared a 2016 text message, a screenshot of it from JD Vance. And we're gonna read some of it. This is JD Vance supposedly saying it, but I'm not surprised by Trump's rise. And I think the entire party has only itself to blame. We are, whether we like it or not, the party of lower income, lower education white people. And I've been saying for a long time that we need to offer those people something, and hell, maybe even expand our appeal to working class black people in the process, or a demagogue would. We are now at that point. Trump is the fruit of the party's collective neglect. I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical a-hole like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad, or might even prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler. How's that for discouraging? That is fairly discouraging. Maybe not as discouraging as having an author like JD Vance being perfectly able to diagnose all of this in 2016, and in the span of just a few years decide, yeah, maybe that is the path that we're going down, and maybe it is horrifying, and maybe I can jump in it, and I can be one of the candidates that rides this to fame and fortune. And that looks like what he's done. Assuming this is authentic, and so far there's been nothing that's come out that proves that it's not. It looks like he was worried. He had every reason to be worried, and that was before, David. That was before the 4 years of Trump, before the insurrection and the attempt to end American democracy. And now he's got no problem with Trump.
And he also has no principles, right? Because look, I guess you expect now politicians will sort of constantly put their finger in the wind to decide which way it's blowing. But you'd like to think that at least some Republican out there would say, okay, yeah, Donald Trump was troubled back in 2016, and my position hasn't changed. And I guess at least there's Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney and a couple others, but JD Vance, I mean, he had Trump pegged. He had it exactly right in 2016. And I would argue that, Trump has only made the case even stronger for what JD Vance is saying. But now JD Vance is deciding, well, as far as my own seeking power and having some authority and some prestige, that's okay. I can just sort of swallow Donald Trump, no problem. And it's embarrassing. And I just wish these people would somehow realize how little self-respect they seem to have.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I was a regular conservative, that you might like JD Vance. You might like his recent ad where he's like, "Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? They pretend that we're So he diagnosed all of what the right was doing to bamboozle their fans. He was saying at that point, no, we need to actually offer them something. We can't just be demagogues. Well, what is he doing with his race now that he's a candidate? Is he charting a new path focused on substance, focusing on economics, on righting all of these historic wrongs? No, he's a demagogue. He identified it and now he's doing it. It's up to you, Republicans, on whether you're gonna actually be willingly conned by it.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.